Hi everybody, this is Luke. The last time we spoke about the TSDZ8 or TSDZ8 or how you want to call it, the final message I left you with is, beside all the great performances of the motor, you might be stuck with the original firmware for a long time. At the time of that video, there wasn't really any OSF, open source firmware, for the TSDZ8. And the situation hasn't really changed since that moment. Actually, yeah, that has been a little change. Do you remember there was a open source firmware for the TSDZ2, which was pretty mature, but it has been discontinued by the user. It was for the VLCD5 display, the one that lets you keep everything, also the braking levers. The good news is that now there has been someone else who has branched that code and is basically making adjustment in order to make it work for the TSDZ8. Now, in its repository, he has stated that it's in beta version, so if you flash it, you're gonna be on your own, it's your own responsibility, and I have to state that too. But I tried it. There's a version now, which we're gonna see later, and it basically works. I haven't done any test drive yet. As soon as I have a little bit more time, I will try to do some test drive. Now, the first thing I'm gonna show you is, maybe you forgot, how to back up your current firmware. And this is very important because in case the open source firmware is not working for you, you can always roll back to the original firmware and it should work just as good as before. And then we'll follow up with installation of the OSF, which is gonna be done in 3 steps. First step is gonna be production programming of the open source firmware. Then you're gonna have to produce, for the second part, a customized configuration file that you're simply going to flash to see which are the max and minimum values of your torque sensor. We're gonna see this together. And then we're gonna make the final parameter configuration flash. It's gonna be clearer afterwards. Well, let's jump into it.
This is an e-bike that I built. The frame is a little bit older than the last one, but it mounts a Tongsheng TSDZ8 with a battery of 48V at 14 Ah. The maximum constant discharge current is 30 amps by the BMS. If you remember the last TSDZ video, we first need to install the JFlash app in order to open the project. We're going to use the J-Link V9 USB kit to connect the motor to the PC via the speed sensor connector. If you need more context or explanation, please see that video before this one. Just don't forget to shut down or disconnect your battery. The first thing we want to do is to back up our working firmware. After opening the JFlash app, we can select the .jflash project file. We will then connect the motor, say no to any firmware update request, and then we can read the entire chip. Once that's done, let's just save as a .x data file. And the backup, it's done. Here is how you can search for the OSF repository. As I already said, this is a beta version. Try it at your own risk. You can download the zip archive if you like. I prefer cloning the Git project. This is the version we're going to install, the 0.1.35 Katana of September 2025. If you find a newer one, it could be worth trying that out. In the Files to Flash folder, you will find the necessary JFlash hacks files. Let's go back to the app and, if you closed it, reload the previous project. Now let's open the OSF firmware and, after being sure to be connected, let's select Production Programming. It will automatically disconnect the motor if the operation is successful. And the first of 3 parts is done. For the configuration file, we're gonna need the Java Configurator app, like we did for the TSDZ2. Be aware that you need to install the Java runtime environment in order to execute the app. Once the app is opened, we can select the default setting. There's a little bug here, you need to manually select the motor type TSDZ8. Let's put motor power at 750W, and then let's just go to the Advanced tab. For this second step, we don't need much tuning. What we really need is just to show on the bike display the ADC torque sensor, 10-bit, after the battery percentage, when we turn on the light. Here we just put the number 6, which corresponds to that value. And that's it for now. We can compile the X file and flash it to the motor. There's just one thing to be aware of. We will not select production programming this time. Instead, we'll just flash the difference, selecting manual programming, program and verify. For manual programming, we also need to disconnect the motor. And part 2 of 3 is complete. Now we need to read the torque min and max values from the LCD5 display. After removing the link and powering on the battery, we can turn on the display. It will show the battery percentage right at startup time. If we turn on the light, the OSF will show the diagnostic data, as we just configured it for. The second value will be the torque sensor current value. In my case, the min is 208. To get the max torque value, we need to apply about 80 kilograms of weight on the pedals. In my case, the torque value will reach up to 461. When we note down those numbers, we need to add 10 to the minimum value. Let's power off the battery, reconnect the cable and jump back to the Java configurator. At this point, we are free to configure our motor the way we like. I won't go into every single option here, but here on screen you can see my selection. The battery capacity is the result of volt times ampere. Auto display data with lights on will be unchecked, because now I won't need diagnostic data anymore. You can also take odometer compensation. If you need more explanation, please refer to the TSDZ8 OSF video I made some time ago. Also, if you want to know why we need to do this calibration of torque sensor, you should refer to the README of this OSF page. It's all written here. I will also leave a PDF guide to correctly set the wheel circumference. Finally, I can enable the brake sensors and the throttle in unconditional mode. Great, let's compile the hacks once again and then flash it to the motor exactly as we did before. Let's see if it works.
Hey, a couple of things before closing the video. About the odometer compensation, that's a useful feature. Every time the OSF shows you some diagnostic data on the upper side of the display, it's basically counted as kilometers per hour or miles. It's all numbers that are going to increase your odometer. You can prevent this behavior by taking odometer compensation, but the downside is that every time you turn on the bike, you have to wait a little seconds before you actually see the speed data on the display. Then the numbers on the assist modes, I basically copied them from the TSDZ8 OSF video. On my TSDZ8 36 volt, I had no issue at all, but you might want to keep an eye on temperatures just to see if you occur on any overheating issues. And finally, even if I wasn't able to do any test drive, I did try out the bike. And I can definitely say that this open source firmware is an actual upgrade over any Tongsheng firmware for the TSDZ8. Be careful out there, try the open source firmware, and let me know how you find it. Did you know about it already? Is there any other configuration that I missed? Let me know in the comment section down here. Also, if you liked my effort, feel free to hit the like button. You can also subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any future video. Thanks for watching and see you guys on the next one.